Okay, so the last video that you watched in the last lesson, we were making flying eyeballs. I've changed this into a flying Cartman because it's much more interesting, and tried some other little gags with this. This time we're going to start introducing the idea of scenes and what you can do with them, and some other effects with tweening. So I'm going to move through this fairly quickly, but again, pause, rewind the video if you need to pick up the particular tips and techniques. First off, scenes. Well, scenes, after a while, become very, very essential because we build up a lot of layers as you're creating a more sophisticated animation. And what I would propose that we do is we make a title scene to start this whole thing off for this animation, and then we make another scene where we have a different version of Cartman flying around. To get scenes started, you're going to want to open up the scenes palette. And right now we don't have it open, so Shift F2 will open up the scene palette. And you can dock that up with other palettes just to economize on the room. And you'll notice that right now we have only one scene. I am going to give that scene a name, Flying Cartman. In this case, once again, this used to be Flying Eyeball. I like Cartman better. And you'll notice that Flying Cartman appears now in our little navigation bar over here. What I would like to do now is create a brand new scene in this animation. And I'm clicking down below to create the new scene in the scene palette. And I'm going to call this scene Title Sequence. And it's that easy. Right now this title sequence is only 1 frame long. Well, I'd like it to last for 5 seconds at 24 frames per second. So I'm going to extend this title sequence to frame 120 by hitting F5. I'm going to give this thing a name. I'm going to call this BG for background. And I would like my title to be black. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to grab the color of it and change it to just black or gray. I'm also going to position it precisely, mathematically. I like doing this. I'm going to put it at location 0, 0, which means it's going to go to the very top left corner of my stage, and its width will be the default width, 550, and its height 400. So I get a black rectangle that is exactly the same size as my stage. Now, if I want to make titles with moving words, I'm going to have to make a layer for every single element that I want to have moved. And I think what I'd like to have is a title like Night. And in the next layer I'm going to have of the. And I'm going to make the last word Cartman. Cartmen. And now I'm going to figure out where I want this to start. I don't want the words all to appear at the same time, so I'm going to go to frame 20 or so. And I will choose a nice bright color to begin with, and the text tool, and I've got nice big font here, and I'm going to type the word night. Easy as that. Now I've put it here in the first layer, and it seems to have placed it in the first frame, so I can grab that and move it anywhere I like. I'd like it to start after about a half second or so. It's nice to have a little bit of time before the words start appearing. And maybe around over here, you know, this time I'll try hitting F7 so I have a place to hold this. And I'll type of the, and I'm in this layer, so I've got it at a different time. I can have that arrive anytime I want. Finally, the word Cartman. Okay, F7, make a place to hold it, a frame, a keyframe at that point, and I will type Cartman. I might even do some fancy things. Let's think about typography. Cartmen. Let's try uppercase, lowercase, start mixing the cases around. And then we can start placing these things, and every time we grab these things, it actually tells me if these things are aligned. Again, a little bit of typography. And maybe I want to try changing some of the fonts around a little bit too. So the Palantino linotype. I've got, that's sort of a serif font. I'm going to mix that up with a sans serif font. I'll go back to the old staple, Arial. Bold. Ought to do. Might even try some proximity. Let's make this one bigger. I'm going to change this reference point so the word night gets bigger from that corner. Whoops, undo. So this is just a more interesting title. And you could smash this around any way you like. Now we haven't done any animation to this. That is, no tweening animation, I should say. All we're doing is just deciding when it's going to arrive. Okay, but we got ourselves a title. Night of the Cartman. Still not quite happy. Perfectionism. And if we test this scene, we can test a scene by going Control-Alt-Enter, or you can go up to Control and test just this scene to see how it's playing out. Good enough. You can do some more sophisticated things with titles if you would like. If you took this particular word, or this element, and hit F8 and turn it into a symbol, I'll call it night. Now we could actually do some animation. We can do some tweened animation. And a nice tween animation gag with this one would be to hit F6, create a classic motion tween, and have the thing start maybe a little higher so it kind of glides into position. I might even have it ease out as it slides into place. I could try another gag with this. That's a nice one. If I click on the object and go to Style, Color Effect, I could take its brightness or its alpha. Maybe I'll take its alpha down to 0. So now this, as we tween it, starts transparent and becomes more and more visible. Transparent, more visible. And it's happening pretty quick, but it's a subtle little effect, but it's a nice one. If I test it out again, hopefully you see that effect. So now I've got myself with this new title scene. If I test my whole movie, I'll hit Control-Enter to test the entire movie, but the scenes are out of order. Once again, easy thing to fix. We can grab things in the scene palette and drag them into any order that we want. So now I have my title sequence preceding the actual animation. One more gag while we're doing it. I can go back to the flying Cartman and I can make some other modifications. I liked that idea of changing how visible something was from one point to the other. So I'm going to introduce again, if you haven't seen this before, what you can do under Properties for an instance. This color effect is really powerful. I could take the brightness and make it go absolutely black so that Cartman, the flying shape, whatever it is, starts black and eventually tweens into full color by the time it gets closer. And it gives you that nice implication of depth and atmosphere as something is flying towards you. Nice effect. Now there's more that I could do with this. Very quickly I could invent another scene. I think I will. And I'm going to call this Side Fly. And I'm going to maybe grab myself another shape for the background. And I'll call this BG for background. Grab the color. I'm going to use a more sophisticated thing. Maybe a nice linear background that's got kind of some nice dark deep blues in it. From there, I'd like to go to there, only light. And this one here, now we don't need this, but I'm going to grab a dark and put it over there. Be a little darker still. And I'd like to make this go more horizontally. Click. Paint bucket. There we go. I kind of want to make it look like Cartman's flying off in the distance somewhere through the mist. Oops, let's make sure that this is accurate. I'll put this at 0, 0, 550, 400. Okay, absolutely filling the background. I'm going to lock it down so I can't mess around with it. And now I'm just going to make a Cartman layer. Grab from the library. I still have my flying Cartman. I'm going to drag him, put him down here. Scale him down so he's a nice small little thing. I'm going to have him fly from one side of the scene to the other over the course of about 5 seconds or so. There's frame 120 about here. F5 will stretch that scene out. F6 will give me another version of this Cartman. Put him from one side to the other. And I'm going to play that gag again. Let's have him be in silhouette. I'll go to the first frame and do that, and if I want to keep the first frame to, the same way, have him stay dark all the way through, I have to select the instance, go to the color effect, and it remembers the last color effect I used, so it remembers to keep him black. Put the tween in, and now I've got myself with a scene, because I still have that same flapping motion where he's flying across the screen horizontally. Now, in my scene, in my overall movie, I'm building this up bit by bit. I think I like to have that side fly happen before he flies towards us and reveals who he is. So I've got the title sequence first, side fly, and now flying Cartman. And my entire movie now looks like this. That'll do the job. Now it's going to cycle over and over again, but you get the idea. Control with scenes, keep your layers clean, and just with a very few keyframes you can get a story told. Good luck. Let's see what you can do.